Hey, what's going on, party people? Phantom here, and welcome to another episode of Random Access Memories. The format to RAM is simple, as I have mentioned in previous episodes, in where I take a game and I talk a little bit about the history, and then dive into different random memories that I have from that game. The memories can be something specific, or just things that I remember in general about the game. There's no real specific format, but the point is to bring up some nostalgia from my younger years and hopefully stir up those random access memories that you might have sitting dormant in your mind as well. So enough intro, let's get on with the episode. So what is it that makes a great game? One could argue that it's the gameplay or the story, but personally I have to say that music is a big part. You know, speaking of music, where's my background music at the moment? TJ, can you hit me with that funky beat?
Jamming.
Yeah, that's better. And today, if you haven't figured out just by this opening riff, we're going to talk about the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive game, ToeJam and Earl. ToeJam and Earl was released back in 1991 on the Mega Drive and the Genesis. For information's sake, I played it on the Genesis since I never owned a Mega Drive, so all my gameplay experiences stem from that system. ToeJam and Earl stars said alien duo in a mission to recover all the parts of their spaceship after Earl took the wheel of their Rapmaster rocket ship and crashed into a meteor, making the ship break apart and crash land on Earth. Yes, those are massive speakers and a snowboard underneath the ship. You gotta remember, this game was made back in 1991 after all. After you crash, you're dropped onto level 1, and that's where the game begins. ToeJam and Earl has two modes of gameplay, which is the standard level setup, where all the levels in the game will always remain the same, and then there are the randomly generated levels. If you're playing ToeJam and Earl without the RNG levels on, then you're doing it wrong. One of the best aspects that I can remember from playing is the fact that this game is never the same. Sure, you're gonna have parts that look the same, and the enemies are gonna attack in the same way, but even way after 25 years since this game's been released, Jesus, did I just really date myself like that? Holy smokes. But even after 25 years, I can go into a game and not know what to expect with the overall layout of the levels. That's really good stuff. The game takes place from a top-down perspective in a 2D game world with both single-player and two-player cooperative modes available. There isn't any versus, so sorry if you were looking for that kind of stuff. The two-player mode is definitely the way to go, and it shows a single screen when both characters are near each other, but splits apart when they're not. As I mentioned, it's definitely the way to play because you can work together as a team to get the rocket ship pieces. It's also funny to have an extra person running around and trying to avoid all the same stuff you're going through. Speaking of the pieces of the rocket ship, you have to collect 10 of those pieces in order to get off of Earth and back to Funkatron. Each level of the game is represented in a floating island of sorts where the player has to find an elevator to get to the next level in search of those rocket ship pieces. If you end up falling off the edge, which is definitely going to happen due to enemies or a misplaced jump from rocket skates, then you're going to fall back down to the next level without taking any damage. While this might sound okay, especially with the tone of my voice, I can speak from experience that you can end up falling off multiple levels, multiple times, and it can be a real pain in the butt to get back up to the levels you were just on. Each of these levels within the game is populated with enemies and friendlies alike. Enemies such as the Maniac Dentist, the Boogeyman, man-eating mailboxes, which are my least favorite, and chickens armed with guns are there to track you relentlessly, steal your power-ups, and end your life to end the game. Some of these are easy to deal with, while others in packs are an extreme nuisance. To deal with these little bastards, you have the aid of presents and friendly earthlings such as Santa Claus, who will leave you presents, and the wizard, who will power your life all the way back up in order to help you continue on finding those rocket ship pieces. The presents, as I just mentioned, is a system where there's an inventory that holds a finite amount of presents, and until you use them, it has a set of question marks over them, so you never know what you're going to get until you open the present. Sometimes it can be a good thing, like an extra life, or health, or money to be able to buy more presents, and then others it can be something nasty like a rain cloud which constantly shocks you, so you have to be careful when you open these presents, especially if you get the randomized generator which will switch all the presents around. Once you get all the rocket ship pieces, you'll put the Rat Master back together and you'll go back to Funkatron where you meet friends and family, and that's the end of the game. Now, if you were to ask me what I remember about this game, it is the soundtrack.
Jamming.
Despite only having a few songs in the overall soundtrack, it is immediately recognizable to people who were around back then and generates a ton of nostalgia for me. Just hearing the initial track named Toe Jam Jammin', I know exactly what it is, and it just floods my mind of me sitting on the floor wanting to beat this game. Now, when I was a kid, I had no idea that the game had randomly generated levels, so I was always blown away by the fact of why the game was different every single time I played it. I didn't actually own the cart, mind you, because I had to rent it from the local store whenever I wanted to play, which just added to the illusion of what the hell this game actually was. This was my jam. No pun intended. Well, okay, maybe a little bit. But this is one of the few games I could get my older sister to play and actually sit down with me to, in front of the TV. I would always be Toe Jam and she'd always be Earl. And mind you, I wanted to be Earl because, everybody loves Earl, but I got a fondness of Toe Jam now, and I wouldn't be anyone else if given the chance. Gotta represent the homie TJ. I've only ever actually beaten this game one other time in my life, with the exception of this time around to gain footage for this video. So this was actually a very rewarding and nostalgic, random access memories for me to do, because I just had a big shit-eating grin on my face the whole time I was playing. I've had people ask me via direct message and, via email in regards to what RAM is, what the overall point is. And it's just like I said earlier, it's to show these old games and hopefully stir up some of these dormant memories that you might have had when you were a kid, just like I did once I heard the opening riff for Toe Jam and Earl. Hopefully with these jammin' tunes today, I was able to do that for you. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon with another episode of Random Access Memories for your viewing pleasure. Did you enjoy the video? Did you have a game that you might want me to play for a future episode of RAM? Do you think that Toe Jam needs to wear some damn pants? If so, let me know in the comments down below. Toss a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the video if you liked it or not. And once again, thanks for watching. This is Phantom, and I'll be back next time.